Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into my first starts and sits video of this NFL season. We're kicking off tomorrow with the Cowboys and Eagles. We got the Chiefs and Chargers playing in Brazil Friday, and then, of course, the whole slate of games Sunday. And then we got that Monday night matchup as well between the Vikings and Bears. So excited the NFL season. We had a great college football weekend. With that being said, you guys are going to get the same type of starts and sits video that I've done over the past several years. We're going to get my top two starts and sits at the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and the tight end position. And I shouldn't have to say this, but yeah, guys, I am going to be avoiding telling you to start the obvious starts. I try to look on different websites and see the start percentage, and as long as it wasn't over 90%, I would consider mentioning the name as a start. And then, of course, if you guys have been following along with me, I'm not afraid to tell you guys to sit some players that you probably would start, but I would just do a temporary expectations play. With that being said, yeah, let's just go ahead and dive into this first starts and sits videos, as I always do, starting at the quarterback position. My top start of the week, I am going to go with Bo Nix against the Titans. I'm betting on that the Titans secondary is not that great this year. I think they are going to struggle. Their best cornerback, L'Jarius Sneed, was just activated off the PUP list a couple weeks ago. I believe it does sound like he's going to play, but he missed majority of the preseason. So how healthy is he going to be in this week one matchup? And then what I also think too is the Titans do have a good defensive front where they can bottle up the rushing attack of the Denver Broncos, which could lead to a heavy passing attack for the Broncos passing offense. So I could see Bo Nix not only having a good day through the air, but he does have those legs, which will help him give a high floor as well if he needs to get away from that defensive front if they start getting pressure on him. My other top start, I am going to go with Kyler Murray on the road against the Saints. Kind of a similar story with the Saints defense. Alontae Taylor, their best cornerback on the roster, he suffered a groin injury a few weeks ago. He was said to be out. He's going to be out for a while. We'll have to see what the injury report looks like this week, but even if he does play, he would be less than 100% based on that report that came out a couple weeks ago. And so I'm betting that maybe that will lead to Marvin Harrison having a great week one if they're missing their best cornerback. That won't be on coverage on him. And then similar to Bo Nix, I'm also betting on that Kyler Murray's legs are going to give him a high floor on a road game in this week one matchup against New Orleans. My top sit of the week, I am going to go with Justin Herbert against the Chiefs this Friday in that Brazil game. Mainly just because the offense he's in, right? He's in a Jim Harbaugh offense that's going to want to run the ball. And that's kind of like what they did last year against the Chiefs, because you would probably would bet to understand that Jim Harbaugh, going against a Chiefs offense with Patrick Mahomes, wants to control the clock and wants to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline as much as possible. And if you just look at the box score from the last two games last year in Jim Harbaugh's first year as a coach going against Kansas City, the most passing yards in one of those two games that Herbert faced the Chiefs last year, he was just 213 yards. And I believe the other game he had less than 200 yards passing. And then he only had one passing touchdown in each game. And another reason why I would be hesitant to play Justin Herbert this week is because remember last year that Brazil field was players were slipping all over the field. That's the field that Jordan Love suffered that injury last year. So I'm not sure if that field is going to be in a better condition this year. So if you have a better option than Justin Herbert, I would definitely consider that in considering entering a different quarterback in my lineup over him. My other sit, I am going to go with Caleb Williams against the Vikings. Minnesota already had a tough defense last year. They made upgrades on their defensive front, and they're going to be going against a questionable Bears offensive line, which can lead to not only potential sacks, and turnover opportunities, because if they can bottle up their rushing attack with DeAndre Swift, that's going to put them in third and long situations, and that's going to be able to put more pressure on Caleb Williams. And as I've said through the month of August on Caleb Williams and the Bears offense, I do think it's going to take at least anywhere between 3 to 6 games before this offense will click underneath Ben Johnson. So I think there are going to be some mistiming, some mistakes that are going to be made in this week one matchup against Minnesota. Moving into my top starts and sits at the running back position. Sticking in that game on the opposite side of the with the Vikings, my top start, I am going to go with Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason against the Bears. The reason why I do like both those players is it sounds like they will be splitting touches. I believe it's going to be a 50-50 touch split. And then just mainly because they paid Jordan Mason, and B, they're going to want to keep Aaron Jones healthy, especially with him being an older running back. So I think Mason's going to get a lot of touches, at least to begin the year. But then I think about the game plan that they're going to probably utilize. With this being J.J. McCarthy's first game, they're going to want to take the pressure off J.J. McCarthy. So I think they're going to lean into this rushing attack, try to get J.J. McCarthy in third and short situations, not put too much pressure on him to win this Week 1 matchup. And then when you look at what Aaron Jones did last year against the Bears with the Vikings, in both those games, he finished with at least 85 rushing yards, and he scored a touchdown in each game. So that's why I do like both those players in this Week 1 matchup. My other start, again, Jahmyr Gibbs is one of those guys I don't have to tell you guys to start, but I still do also like his counterpart this week, David Montgomery against the Packers. In the 4 games since he's joined the Lions, when he's faced the Green Bay Packers, he's finished with at least 70 rushing yards in 3 of those games. He's had at least 20 receiving yards in 3 of those games, and he's scored at least 5 touchdowns in those games. And also, too, as Micah Parsons is going to help out this Green Bay rushing attack, but keep in mind they did trade away Kenny Clark. They're going to be betting on young guys in the interior of that offensive line. Interior of that defensive line. So that's going to open up rushing lanes for Montgomery and Gibbs this weekend. So I think they're going to want to lean into this rushing attack with Detroit, just so they don't put themselves in third and long situations with Micah Parsons coming off the edge. My top sit of the week, I am going to go with Kenneth Walker against the 49ers. You guys have probably heard me say it a lot this year, this offseason, and even in my video last night when I did the top streamable defenses. I think the 49ers defense is going to be significantly improved this season with the revamped defensive line and with Bob Saleh coming back as their defensive coordinator. And then when you look at the history with Kenneth Walker against the 49ers, he has never finished over 55 rushing yards in 4 career games against San Francisco. And he's only scored 2 touchdowns in those 4 games. And then also, too, it does sound like Zach Charbonnet is going to end up cutting into his touches. I think they're going to be utilizing both those backs this season. So based on the history and based on, I think there's going to be more of a split touch backfield in Seattle this year. That's why I would be hesitant to have Walker in my lineup in Week 1. My other top sit, which I created my start sit list last night before this news came out this morning. But yeah, Breece Hall against the Steelers. Before I go in the reason, if you guys are unaware, this morning it came out that Elijah Vera Tucker, their best offensive lineman, is likely going to miss the entire season this year. So they just found out today, or probably it was yesterday, it's just the news is coming out today, that they're going to be missing their best offensive lineman. So it's not going to be a quick fix for the Jets offense. So they're going against a very good defensive front without their best offensive lineman. That already makes me be hesitant on playing Breece Hall. So before that injury, one of some of the reasons why I also did not like him this week is he's going against a very good defense. I think he's going to struggle to get rushing yards against their defense. And as I said last night in my top waiver wire targets with Braylon Allen, I think Braylon Allen's going to cut into Breece Hall's touches this year. So I think this is going to be a low ceiling play if you want to leave Hall in your lineups. I know you might have drafted him as your running back too. You might have to leave him in there. But if you do end up still playing Breece Hall this weekend, just temper your expectations. It might not be the best outcome on Sunday. Moving into the wide receiver top starts and sits, my top start of the week, I am going to go with Jalen Waddle against the Colts. Obviously, you're going to play Tyreek Hill. I don't have to tell you to start him. And the reason why I like Jalen Waddle is more likely Tyreek Hill is going to be getting all the attention from the Colts secondary. They are likely going to have Charvarius Ward, their best cornerback, on Tyreek Hill as much as possible, probably double teaming Hill if they can. And what that will lead to is Xavier Howard, who they signed 2 weeks ago, who's a 30-something-year-old cornerback, is going to probably be lining up against Waddle pretty often in this matchup. So that's the reason why I do love Waddle. I think there's going to be a lot of one-on-one matchups against a older cornerback that just joined this defense a couple weeks ago. So I view this as a high ceiling play for Waddle this weekend, and which is why I would like to insert him in my lineups. My other top start, I like the rookie for Tampa Bay this weekend, Emeka Egbuka against the Falcons. Mike Evans is going to get all the attention, right? They have AJ Terrell. The AJ Terrell is probably going to be on Mike Evans as much as possible. And then when you look at this Falcons defense, the great thing about Emeka Egbuka is he can line up in the slot and he can line up in the boundary. They can utilize him all over within that passing attack in Tampa Bay. And then you look at what he might face in this week 1 matchup if they would want to put him in the slot. It looks like Atlanta is going to be starting a rookie nickel cornerback. So that's going to lead a one-on-one opportunity against I think he was like a 4th round pick against Emeka Egbuka, who's one of the best route runners from this past draft class. And so I think he can take advantage of these opportunities and have a high ceiling type of play. And then also too, if I did draft Emeka Egbuka, I want to use his value now before a potential Chris Godwin return, which would hurt his value when that does happen. My other top sit, I just don't like the Jets on offense this weekend. And honestly, maybe I should have said Justin Fields as a top sit as my quarterback spot too. But I am going to go with that top pass catcher for the Jets. I'm saying sit Garrett Wilson against the Steelers. As I mentioned, they're facing a very tough Pittsburgh defense that now has Jalen Ramsey in the backfield. They also got Darius Slay. They still got Joey Porter Jr. So they have a very good secondary. Now, like I mentioned with the Elijah Vera Tucker injury, they're missing their best offensive lineman, so when they do drop back to pass, that could end up leading to a quick pressure on Justin Fields, which would lead to potential sacks or just him having to get the ball out of his hands, not being able to drop back and go for maybe a deep explosive play to Wilson. And then if you guys have not heard, it did sound like Fields did struggle most of the season most of the preseason as a passer. So that's why I don't like him. If you do play him, I understand you're going to be betting on the volume because he is going to be their top target hog in New York, but I just do not like his week 1 matchup. Kind of a similar situation with not a similar situation, but a similar like betting on him. I also don't like Calvin Ridley this weekend against the Broncos. Just like Wilson, he's gonna be a target hog. He's gonna get the volume targets, which you always want to bet on volume. I say that a lot, but the reason why I still would be hesitant to play him this weekend is he's likely going to see Patrick Surtain Jr. on him one-on-one quite often on Sunday. And obviously Patrick Surtain is arguably the best cornerback in the NFL. And you got a rookie quarterback in his first start. I say this every single year. Rookie quarterbacks always struggle in their first, not always struggle, typically struggle in their first start. It doesn't matter if they end up having a great career. My number one example, I still remember, because I'm a Colts fan, Andrew Luck throwing like 3 interceptions and 2 pick sixes against the Bears in his first start. So while I do like Calvin Ridley for the season, I just don't like him on Sunday in week 1. And then to wrap this up, moving into the also lovely tight end position. My top start at the tight end position, I am going to go with David Njoku against the Bengals. Mainly, I want to take advantage of having Joe Flacco in the lineup now because I do believe once Joe Flacco leaves that lineup, it's going to hurt David Njoku's fantasy value. And then you just look at his past recent success against the Bengals. In the 2 games that the Browns played the Bengals last year, David Njoku had 18 receptions for 142 yards and a touchdown in those 2 games. And then you look at the last 4 games that he played the Bengals, he's had at least 7 receptions in 3 of those 4 games and had at least 55 receiving yards in those 4 games. So based on his recent success and having Joe Flacco as his quarterback is why I would like to have Njoku in my lineup this week. My other top start, if I like Bo Nix, I gotta like one of his pass catchers, right? So I do also like Evan Ingram against the Titans. I don't really love the Titans linebacker core that they have on their defense. I think Evan Ingram, now they might try to put like Brownlee Jr., their nickel cornerback. They may try to put like Amani Hooker or one of their safeties in coverage on Ingram. But if I know Sean Payton well, he's gonna try to line up Evan Ingram against a linebacker as much as he can in this game. And that's going to be a complete mismatch. He will outrun linebackers. He can outjump linebackers, especially the ones that they have in Tennessee. And I expect him to compete for the most targets with Cortland Sutton in this week 1 matchup. And I look at this as a potential high ceiling play for Ingram where he could get you at least 50 plus receiving yards and a touchdown on Sunday. My top sits. I'm going with the rookie tight end for the Bears, Colston Loveland against the Vikings. As I mentioned with Caleb Williams earlier, I do think this Bears offense is going to take time to click until they finally kind of get things going in Chicago. And then also why I don't really like Colston Loveland this week is I just want to see his role in this offense before I start playing him in my lineups this year. Cole Kmet, the opposite tight end, which they're paying him money, he's going to still have a role in this offense. So how much does that impact the targets for Colston Loveland every single week? And then plus they do have DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, who's going to get their fair share of targets. So mainly, it's not necessarily, they are playing a good defense, right? So I mentioned why I don't like Caleb Williams this week. But mainly, the main reason why I don't like to have Loveland in my lineups this Sunday is just because I just want to see his role to at least begin the season before I put him in any of my lineups this year. My other top sit, a guy that was a very great fantasy tight end for most people towards the end of the season, Jonnu Smith against the Jets. It's a similar situation for him in Pittsburgh. I just want to see his role. Is he going to be getting a consistent target share? Obviously, DK Metcalf is going to dominate the targets with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't really have a clear-cut number 2 guy. You would think that would be Jonnu Smith, but we also cannot forget that they still have Pat Freiermuth, who they paid, I believe, this offseason with a new contract at the tight end position. They still got that big boy at tight end that can catch the ball at Darnell Washington. So just like Colston Loveland, it's not like I don't think Jonnu Smith could potentially have a good game. I just want to see what his role will look like at this new team under Arthur Smith. Is Aaron Rodgers going to target him a lot before I start playing him in any of my fantasy lineups? So yeah, that's my top starts and sits for the first time this season. Something I forgot to mention too at the beginning of the season with my top starts and sits. I always say, guys, you can factor this into your daily fantasy lineups. I always do that with my daily fantasy lineups. I think you can factor these if you want to do prop bets as well, as far as betting the over or the unders. I know I do. Whenever I put these together, I end up putting some parlays together, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. With that being said, if you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. Want to continue to see that number go up this season. As always, guys, you will get me every Tuesday and Wednesday. So next Tuesday, you'll see me again. I hope you guys enjoy this first weekend of the NFL season. I'll talk to you soon. Peace out.